and welcome again to my show, Searching for Integrity. My name really is John Smith, and I'm searching for people with integrity. Why? Because our country suffers from IDD, Integrity Deficit Disorder. Today we have author and quite a person here, looking at her book, her media information. But we can jump into that and do that right away, which is good. Are you there, Michelle?
I am. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much. One of the things that I look into to give me what the book is about is it's every book. If I get a copy of a table of contents. Now let's get in line for your table of contents. I think it was getting close to 100 when I gave up on the count. Is that right?
It's I think 9 pages long, maybe.
Yeah.
It's laid out more like a textbook.
Right. Well, that helps because this subject, this topic, certainly needs that because there just won't be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. These things are. I once was in my CPA life that I was buying and selling low-income housing, trying to make them affordable. And in the process of that, I told myself, well, why don't we just set up your own 503C? And then after about a week about that, I said, I don't think I want to do that. So you're exception. You are an exception, is what I should say. Doing something like that is quite amazing. What was the part in terms of not just ending, but what's the part in there that you really get your motor going? It's a good way to go.
Well, I decided to write the book because I saw how many people with good hearts and good intentions were wanting to honor a loved one or get information out about a disease or some trauma to prevent other people from going through it. And they really have honorable intentions, but they don't know the first thing about what it takes to run a nonprofit, because it really is a business, and it in many ways is harder than a business to run.
It's a strict business. It's what it is. Very strict. And that's why when you compare it to a normal general ledger and an income statement and a balance sheet, it just doesn't line up with the other. You've got to have some specific guidelines you have to follow. That's what I recall about it. That's why I decided not to do it. I had enough already on my plate.
And you probably made the correct choice.
Well, if I want some spare time, that would be an answer. Have you had many people that come to you as a consultant now that you've got your book? Are they willing to come to you and say, we want our own nonprofit? Can you help us? Have you had that happen 10 times or 100?
Not as many times yet, because the book is brand new. In fact, it doesn't launch officially until August 19th. So it is available, but we're just getting the word out now. But I just in talking to people, there are people wanting to start nonprofits every day. So if you want to start a nonprofit, I can help you get it up and running. I can help you with day-to-day best practices.
Right. I bet you can. The The thing about it, though, is that it's what a terrific outcome, and the goal in terms of for instance, providing housing. That gets you. For me, it got me going and doing, but I would rather go and do and build. People were building and modifying those type of things, but the uh, still in my head, 503cc, 503c.
501c3.
There you go. Do you have many people come to you that they want to work for you? Do you want employees?
Not yet.
Okay.
I have outsourced some of my operation, but for the most part, it's just me at this point.
Right. And do you find yourself available to seminars and professionals and so forth?
Yes, I definitely am.
You know, I also have another memory, and that is that people they were in a small area of Dallas, Texas. And in that area, there were probably 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 of people wanted to have their own nonprofit. And of course, they didn't know anything about it, not even the subject matter. This is a hammer. So it's often in that. And the other thing, of course, they're doing is that they're finding places and funding from, let's say, various cities. They'll fund those. You'll find, if you're a well enough business and you've had the idea and knowing how it's going to be in terms of the terms and organizational aspect as ongoing. So have you ever stopped into a city home? Or not that, shouldn't say that, city office, Hannah's homes.
Like a Habitat for Humanity type
Sure.
organization.
Yeah, but that one's well over the hump. They're doing that.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. If you're thinking of starting a new nonprofit, there probably is an existing 1 or 5 or 10 that are doing what you're considering doing all in your area. So you need to do your research and decide if you could maybe better help without all of the headaches by just joining an existing organization in some way. But join their board, join a committee, pick up a hammer.
Right. And find a grant.
Yes.
That's not easy. I still have 2 books and textbooks somewhere in my garage. That's all about that. Just right there is the and it's this thick. It's the book.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Everyone's fighting for funding, and
That's right.
volunteers and board members and even the clients that they serve.
Well, if and I can remember some fairly large openings to the public, and in order to find themselves in a nonprofit idea, and the bumping and shoving is somewhat the same, and it can get physical because people are desperate for money, are desperate for let's say a housing type of thing. So it's not as easy as people think. They need to tell them when they go to bed, tell them 1,000 prayers, to get you going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Prayers and a lot of work.
A lot of work. That's right. The people there in those donation type of things, contributions made by cities or other. It's yeah, I don't want to say it's the worst thing in the world I ever tried, but it was stumped for me. I was a one man person, so I didn't have any but one man time. And when I read it and got to it, I thought, well, I'll just set it over here, and someday that I'll have to have that. But that day never came.
And that's probably the case for many people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How often do you have any educationally for this? Is there any seminars for you to go to that would help you in terms of what you're doing?
In terms of my consulting,
Yes.
well, it started with the 60 plus people who I interviewed who are in the nonprofit arena for the book. And I gained a lot of knowledge that I hadn't in my own nonprofit experience. So I have been learning from them and researching when they've mentioned a topic that I'm not familiar with, and I research that on my own and put that in the book. So far I have not attended any seminars or webinars, but I do intend to keep up my knowledge on and keep it current.
Sure. Of course, that's an opportunity to get your business card out and elbows and rub them all each other. Have you any industries that you see that is more difficult than others?
It just depends on the competition in your area, your local vicinity. I think different areas of the country and city versus rural will make a difference. So I can't pinpoint any specifically because I think it just depends on the location.
You think so? Like what locations? North, south, west, east?
Well, I'm saying in your specific location, your city, it may be more difficult to get, let's say, an urban housing project off the ground because there are other people competing already in that space. So it may be more difficult than in a different city that doesn't have as much competition.
Right. That's true. Some don't have any at all.
Right.
You got to tell them what it's about. And then after you've done that, you're thinking, maybe I'll think twice about this. But then that's your animal. That's the thing you've got right there. And a lot of people like you try it, but don't do as well as you in terms of the knowledge of what you need in order to make that 501c3. Got it right.
And there is a lot of integrity and ethics involved in being successful.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that just yesterday, about two things, and about integrity. And another word that I wrote down was dignity. And in the process of that, what you run into there are no ethics in these nonprofits. It's scratching and clawing. But I think that you probably are going to do well with what you do.
I hope so. But
well, I think you will.
I think that is a generalization. I have worked with many upright, ethical, wanting to do the right thing organizations, and So there are many out there. Unfortunately, a few bad apples give them a bad name.
That can happen. Certainly will. That will happen. Have you, let's see, is there a limitation in terms of what you have to earn or on the bottom line in terms of filing returns?
So the IRS requires different levels of filings. You can file I believe it's called an EZ, 990 EZ, or just a postcard if you aren't making a lot in revenue yet. And then once you're over a certain threshold, you file the full 990 that can be publicly found by anyone looking into your finances. And it can be up to 40 pages long. So it's quite a lot of filing that you need to do.
Well, if you can write a book like this, then you won't have any trouble with with those things. And that's something you'll need. You'll have to know that.
Right.
Everybody is positive until there's no money, or there's not somebody that's the construction, whatever, or the person that's in charge. And then the entity starts going sideways. Where are we going now? What's next? What's next? And then a lot of people, they just won't work it anymore. They'll rather find someplace at the grocery store, sack groceries.
They call that mission creep when the board decides to take funding because they need funding, but not because it necessarily fits in with their mission and values. So they need to be fully aware of mission creep and try to avoid it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of the times that I was a CPA, and I decided I have no problem. And then I thought, no, it's not. You're not going to do that. And I said, okay, I won't. And I'm talking to myself. So, what would you do next besides your launch?
So after the launch on the 19th, I expect to fully get into more consulting and speaking and just helping people out there.
Right. Many people in starting out this endeavor, most people will think, well, we need to turn this over to our attorney, or we need to turn this over to our CPA. And they don't know anything about it. They might say that they do, but they don't. And that was another one of the motivations for me to say, just keep rehabbing houses, John. Just keep rehabbing the houses so people will have something. And that did all right. In a 2-year span, I had somewhere about 35, 38 houses.
Wow.
And I was having to buy them at the county auction monthly in Fort Worth, only because I didn't like Dallas. Now, where are you located?
I'm in Delaware.
Delaware. That Delaware is in the news a lot these days.
It is not all for good.
Well, at least you're realistic.
Yes. But in my little corner, all is good.
Right. I think that one here that I'm going to read, a veteran of nonprofit arena, founder of your 501 Guide Consulting, and author of the upcoming book. So you want to start a nonprofit. Oh, you do have a caution there. Now, what? That would be good. That would be. It's like because you'll find abilities to show what you can, and when they see that first attorney's bill, they're going to start shaking their head and say, "I can't." This is a nonprofit. They separate themselves to whether or not you're going to have any money or support type of thing. And the answer is yes. You'll need it. So, how would you mingle and advertise and things like that?
Well, I have a website, 501guide.com, and I am talking on podcasts like yours and trying to get the word out. I have some good friends who are getting the word out through social media for me and supporting me. So
that's important.
It is.
Because it's beyond you or me, and they have more touch and more grace and things, and they have already people working for them because they're not a nonprofit.
Right. And people every day are, experiencing a tragedy, or a loved one experienced a tragedy, and they are thinking about starting a nonprofit. So if you out there are thinking of starting a nonprofit, you may want to think about other options that are easier and can help you stick to your mission.
Yeah, to accomplish what you want to do. What are some of the industries, like I was doing low-income housing, trying to? Are there others that compete just for money in what they're doing?
All the time. Almost every nonprofit industry. There are 1.7 million nonprofit organizations in the US. So you name it, they are trying to do it. It could be Habitat for Humanity, or urban housing, or scholarships for women going to back to college to get their degree finally. It's there, that runs the gamut.
Sure. And I'll bet that you're probably going to not make as much as a lawyer charges.
I doubt it. My husband's a lawyer, so.
Oh, I don't mean to talk about him. You should have told me. What kind of lawyer is he?
He does corporate litigation.
Well, he doesn't know anything about that.
And environmental things.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't do anything with the nonprofit sector.
Right. So he knows the billing process and how it should be or not, or what you get is not necessarily what you were hoping on.
Right.
Otherwise, it's turned to the other side. You're the one that's getting the money, and with that, it's probably the way you're going to go.
Yes. So I know that the nonprofit sector is trying to put all of their funding toward their mission and helping their clients. So they need help maybe to get up and running, and you need inside information for things that you don't understand. And some of that you can find the right people that will donate their time and talent, but others you may need to hire out. Possibly,
but you certainly have a good view of it, and not one that people think it's pie in the sky. It's different, and then what you'll be doing, helping to society, I think. Hey, let's find out all the places my listeners want to know where they can find your book.
Well, the easiest thing to do is go to my website, 501guide.com. It can be found on Amazon and Ingram Spark. There's an ebook version and a paperback version.
Yes. And let's see. That's worthwhile. It is worthwhile. Very
Thank
much
you.
so. Well, I'm going to let you go. It was a good 30 minutes, I think. And you'll probably have as many as you can, and you'll probably do well. The best ones you find are people, well, never mind. I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Now, let me see. Where's my adios? Oh, I see. I have to ask my listeners to thank you tuning in here because you learned something today about nonprofits. And if you're going to get one, you got to find somebody that's someone that's going to be working the game on your side, just like Michelle is. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Searching for Integrity. So long and happy trails to all. Until we meet again.